Hi. First thing up, there's obviously people watching this aren't going to really know much about Nine Inch Nails, so my opening gambit is define Nine Inch Nails to the uninitiated.
Well, Nine Inch Nails was basically just me in the studio messing around, and over the period of maybe a year of just doing demos and experimenting, kind of turned into this thing that had a sort of identity to it. And we got a deal, and then I put a band together to play out live. And instead of relying real heavily on everything being taped, tried to reinterpret the music in a more open manner with a real drummer and things like that. And it's kind of just progressed over the past year we've toured for 8 months in the States. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's evolved into a strange kind of, I don't know. I don't know why people like us.
You don't?
I do. I mean, I like the band myself. I should. But it surprised me that it's caught on as well as it has over here. I didn't expect it to be as big as it is right now. Not that it's, challenging Bon Jovi for the top of the charts, but it's been more successful than I imagined this fast.
It has been, as you say, really successful. And all right, you're not sure why people like you, but I mean, there must be something reflected in what you do that's got people jumping up and down about Nine Inch Nails. Can you kind of maybe see what that is? Can you describe what it is that they see in you?
What I would hope that it is that I think lyrically and just primarily lyrically, there's been a lot of people that, man, I really don't like this kind of music normally, but I know what you're saying and I can relate to it. And when I wrote the album, trying to focus in on what this should be about, instead of being some big world scope album and change everybody's life, it was more of an introspective, just what was bothering me at the time, and I tried to make the kind of album that I liked growing up. That was that, for me, I liked Pink Floyd The Wall album at one point. Because when I was depressed or whatever, that was like a friend in some way I could relate to at that time. And tried to make that type of record more than a record that was like, I like to bang my head to this or whatever. And if you can do that, great. But I think it's a nicer compliment to hear that, hey, you've helped me out or you've made me mad or provoked some sort of reaction. So.
What would you describe as Nine Inch Nails' current musical reference points? Contemporary.
Over here, the term industrial is kind of slapped on anything that's synth or drum machine oriented that's not a house track. And it's just more aggressive type stuff. Skinny Puppy, Ministry are like the leaders over here. And there's definite tip of the hat to those bands. I have respect for them and like them. Trying to kind of bastardize that genre a bit, bringing in some other elements that you normally don't see that much in there.
I mean, what do you think when people call you industrial?
I mean, I don't mind. I think it's kind of an ignorant term, but
why is it an ignorant term?
Well, in terms of what is the true industrial movement, was that Cabaret Voltaire and Throbbing Gristle years ago in England, or is that now everything that's on Wax Trax label over here? So over here it means anything on Wax Trax, dance music that's got a harder edge to it, and basically I guess that is what we are, so I listen to a lot of it. I don't hate it, I enjoy it actually, so I don't mind being lumped in with it.
Because when I've read a lot of interviews with you, you've been name checking Al Jourgensen, for example, Ministry a lot, like that was one of your heroes, so people would see that and listen to the record, see the live show, so yeah, that's what I call industrial music. Yeah, and over here that's what everything is. I mean, I guess technically the origins of it, I mean, we don't have that much in common with Throbbing Gristle, so. Right. On that level though, your record's kind of soared ahead of what a lot of these other bands do that have been around for ages, Ministry and Skinny Puppy and so on.
I think it's just more accessible, and I mean, the way I write a song is I'm approaching it as like a pop song. I mean, I try to start with some sort of melody or work in the terms of verse, chorus, but then arrange it kind of a little harder to add some aggression to it. And I think not to cut on any of the other bands in that genre, but an awful lot of time was spent on some things that I think some other bands don't put that much into in this genre, like lyrics, like really redefining structure, and again, I'm approaching it in terms of verse, chorus, hook, sort of thing. So I think my album sounds better after 5 listens than the first one.
So you're saying really you're approaching very heavy music, but from a pop sensibility, really?
I think so. I mean, I like to hear songs. I mean, I like noise and I like energy and I like aggression. But at the same time, I think if you can incorporate that into the format of some sort of song structure, that's where I'm coming from. So,
how much is Nine Inch Nails a one-man show, and how much is it a group?
Up to this point, it's pretty much solely a one-man show. When I got the live band together, it was kind of work within my parameters, not to be portrayed as a tyrant, but so I had an idea of what I wanted to accomplish. So when I got a band together, I was living in Cleveland, of all places, and I just got some friends, like Rich, who I'd known, that I know how they play, and could kind of set them in the right direction and let them turn it into what they want. As far as the future, they may be involved in some aspects of the new album. And it's not me in a power control situation. It's just I kind of know what I want, and it's easy for me to just do it rather than, hopefully in an album or two I'll have used up that and want to collaborate or find people that are really worthy of collaboration.
Right. The way you talk about that, it makes it sound like the album Pretty Hate Machine was this kind of lifelong angst or emotions or whatever, all kind of driven into one record. Would that be any kind of fair description?
Yeah, pretty much so. It's not a party album, it's more of just me spewing out my troubles. But
are you an angry person?
I think I'm becoming more angry. I thought maybe that would get it out of my system, but I think recreating that anger every night on the stage for 8 months and then trying to become a civilian again is like, I don't foresee any good time party music coming up from us. So
it's strange because when you start, the actual record, if you listen to it without really taking into account the live show, it's quite a pleasant, like listening record. Then you see the live show, which is quite violently intense. Was that a case of trying to take it a step further? What was the reasoning behind the?
Well, when it started out, when we started out getting the live show together, it was just a basic premise of sometimes I go see an electronic show, and it's kind of a rip-off. It's not why go see it. It's the same. It's a record playing. And I'm not against not having drummers, and I'm not against electronic music, anything like that. But the way my songs were arranged, I thought it would be interesting to have a real drummer play, to add some more guitar, to make it a bit more live, so it doesn't get so boring as well. And things just kind of progressed. We did several opening slots. We opened for Jesus and Mary Chain earlier, and then Peter Murphy. And
he was dying to do that.
Let's just pick it up.
Pick it up from when you put the live band together, okay?
When it came time to put a live band together, kind of the format I wanted to include was some more actual people playing, and it prevents things from becoming as dull, and it just gives it room to kind of move in whatever direction it does. And just from playing so long, we did several opening slots. We opened for Peter Murphy, we opened for Jesus and Mary Chain. The thrust of the show just got more violent and a bit more angry, and I don't know why that is particularly. It just kind of evolved that way, and the crowds liked it better, and we liked it better, and we kind of went from this honest, here's our music, like us, you've never heard of us atmosphere, to a more abusive, kind of hate-driven set.
How natural is all that? Because anybody who sees you more than once sees like instruments crashing over, banging into band members. Is that kind of like that happens at a given point, or are you just kind of caught up in emotions?
Well, the way that we kind of fell into getting more violent and having a more intense show was very natural progression. It just kind of happened, and I think that's part of just being on the road that long, being around the same people, playing the same music. The whole fan idol worship thing as we got more popular. On one way, you could just sit back and say, "This is great, I love this," and the other way, it can disgust you, and you can turn that into some sort of energy. And I don't mean that as anything bad against fans, but being treated a different way for so long, it starts to become sickened by the way that you're looked at differently. So, to answer the question of how we got that way, I think that was pretty natural. As far as every night, do we have a choreographed, the drums topple on this song, Rich gets hair pulled out on this song? No, I mean, I know as a performer certain things are going to work on a new crowd. And if I have to use that bag of tricks that we discovered accidentally, one night it's fun if Rich snaps his knee backwards and vomits into the crowd. It turns out well. You know that, and if something's not working, you have that little stunt you can pull. And I don't think we could survive another full tour if it got to the way it was at the end of this tour, because someone was going to get hurt bad.
It was really, really wild by the end of the tour, because like you say, you never expected the record to take off. We're only talking about a year, and by the last time I saw you in July, audiences literally up on stage for just about the whole set. Is that scary for you?
I don't look at it. It can get scary, but I'm more scared about someone electrocuting themselves in a light pole or something like that.
I was kind of talking about the fan worship aspect. It's like people are just...
Is that scary?
Yeah.
If I went into that right now with kind of clear head, it would seem really weird. But by the time we got to that point from touring, I'd just been so used to the strangeness, the surrealness of it. I just had a couple months to relax, and this whole past year just seems like a weird dream. I remember all the things, but it's just weird. I cut my hair and now nobody recognizes me, so I'm back to pre-tour. It is kind of scary, and I hear some underground bands claiming they'd never want to be successful, and they don't want to, if a song becomes popular, we're never going to play it again. I'm not about that. I've got no problem at this point with the level of success we're at and where we will be, because I know that's not going to be Michael Jackson world ever. It just won't ever be. But I'm doing this, so I hope people like it. I like it. I hope people like it. And if more people like it, great. I can play. It's more fun to play for 1,000 people than it is 10.
Just give us a bit of background, just quickly about the process of making the record, because I know it wasn't exactly a social atmosphere for you. You pretty much retreated to make this record, eh?
Yeah, there was two real phases of it. One was before actually recording it, and that was just solitude by myself at a computer every day. And then when the record started working, or when we started doing the album, I worked with a variety of different producers on it due to scheduling, and it was a good learning experience for me, including Adrian Sherwood and Flood and John Fryer, Keith Long.
It was kind of the solitude thing. Was that...
And I think that had a big factor, because it kind of fueled itself. At first it was just me. I reached a point in my life, how old am I now? 25. Yeah, it's 25 now. I reached a point a couple years ago where I realized I wasn't doing anything. I was kind of fooling myself into playing in bands and goofing off and really not. I worked at a studio, kind of just wasting time, basically. And I realized I'd never tried to do anything 100% in my whole life. Things had come fairly easy, so I never really killed myself in anything. So this record and this deal and this band was kind of an experiment to see what would happen if I tried to do something for real. And that may sound like a stupid thing to say, but it was just basically, as I started working on it, then it got kind of fun. Then for everything that was done, next phase. And it turned into I didn't have any friends, and I wasn't dating anybody, and I just couldn't be around people. And the farther away I got in the studio, it was harder to be around people. And I know that had an effect on everything. And doing the album was like, okay, go to England and record it with someone you don't know by yourself and be away 6 weeks, and it just was weird. But
did that make you more of an intense person when you came out of it? Or?
I take life on my own. I would check my bags now, things like that. I think so. It made me. I have more confidence. I'm not intimidated much by producers, studios, and experimenting with different things. So we'll see.
All right, we're talking that you're not going to make any party music, but a whole thing I want to bring up with this whole subject is the dance floor. I mean, Nine Inch Nails records are big on the dance floor. Do you consciously add them there?
As in respect, not the whole album, but generally, yeah, I'd be if I didn't say I have some idea of where it's going to go or what market I'm aiming at, you know. And I think I like dance music. I think it's cool if you can do it with some integrity, you know. Will it stay in there? I don't know. I think the next record is gonna naturally be a little bit harder because and it's tempting. I mean, there's a seduction in aggressiveness, you know, and then there's a challenge. Well, how far can I go? And what makes something intense? And does it have to be loud guitars, or could it be, you know? That's what's interesting to me right now. But at the same time, can have some sort of accessibility in it, you know? Because the challenge I'm at right now is. And I'm not looking at terms of, well, my next album, I can't lose the people I'm not about that so much as it's exciting for me to try the challenge presented now is to take it farther where I'm going. Still have, I think what's made this record successful is there's some amount of accessibility to it, where I get people I would never think would like it come up and say, oh, this is my favorite song.
The whole idea that there's this kind of dance scene going where there are like kids going out club and they can find an includes Nine Inch Nails and it includes Nitzer Ebb and Meat Thee, Phil Kilcott,
right.
Ministry. You know, there's this whole dancing and these kids are totally like immersed in it. How do you feel about that?
Rephrase that again?
I would say, how do you feel about there being that kind of dance scene that you're seen as like up at the pinnacle of this alternative dance scene labeled industrial dance music?
I think it's cool. I mean, if you go out and dance, you're out to a club, I get very bored by the house scene and I don't even know what's happening now as far as the Manchester, you know, psychedelic backdrop in the video scene where everybody's got the same haircut. It's just not what's happening here. I like electronic music, and I think the bands that are on the forefront of that, like Ministry and those type of bands, are experimenting and proving to be a good band you don't have to have a real drummer and you don't have to have, you know, the Beatles lineup to make real music. You know, I never subscribed to that. I don't now. You know.
Can you see any? Can you give any kind of sociological reasons why you might see this is a big scene here? I mean, because it's not really a big scene in other countries.
Right. I don't know. I mean, people like to dress up. People like to have their own thing that they're a part of, and it is kind of on the under. You know, it's not the main thing. It's got aggression. It's got its aggressiveness. You know, far more aggressive than heavy metal at times, but still retains some sort of dance. And I don't know. I just
Sorry.
The mic fell. Yeah, what is it? The mic just fell off his perch. Basically, yeah. Alright, we're rolling. Yeah, if you can just repeat that.
I'm not entirely sure why it exists here and not so much other places. I don't know if it will catch on over there. I mean, it's not so much about. I mean, there's a style to it, dress-wise and other things, but it's not about. I don't know. I'm about to go off on a big elaborate explanation, which I really don't know the answer to. I mean, I like it because I like electronic music. I like aggressive music. That's the melding of the two. You know, it's like electronic music with integrity. That's not synth pop junk, and it's not house garbage. And it's, you know, and I mean, being on tour, I must have had 500 tapes from bands that, you know, I've got a drum machine, and you know, it's remotely the same kind of philosophy as the punk explosion came out, or even when Jesus and Mary Chain made their splash, proving again that, you know, anybody can do it. Get up there and do it. You know, now it's like you don't have to even play guitar, get a drum machine, and sing through a distortion box, and it's, you know. So with that in mind, the challenge is to kind of expand upon that, you know, format. I mean, over here, the king pretty much is Al Jorgensen is the king of the scene. Yeah.
Talking to that, you just made a record with him?
Yeah, he produced. We do a ridiculous cover of Queen song, and he produced that. And I sang on 1,000 DJ's track that you won't get into what happened with that, but we just became friends, and I went out with Revolting Cocks on their tour. And it's just a casual friendship thing, pretty much.
It does kind of reinforce the view that other people have that, hey, this is some kind of pretty happy family. All these bands know each other and like each other.
Well, the cool thing is, like, I grew up, well, being in Cleveland, I didn't grow up there, but I've lived there for the past 5 years. There's no scene, you know, and bands were separate entities, you know, and everybody did their own thing. It was kind of nice now that, hey, I've proved myself. I put an album out, and, you know, and you're kind of accepted into this clique of, there is some camaraderie between bands, you know. And I'm sure there's squabbles between labels, but us being we're on TVT in the state, that's a separate entity from the rest of the world. So it's not like I've got label mates that we're hanging out. There's no, the kings of the scene over here are going to wax tracks. I mean, their label caters to that. But yeah, it's been nice to kind of meet people that I've always had a lot of respect for and actually become friends with, you know. So that, and B, there is somewhat sort of a camaraderie, you know.
Anyone again looking in from outside this core of bands looks at press or hears rumors and says these are 24-hour party people. I mean, all you ever seem to see is a lot of stories about bands going out and getting drunk and so on. Is that the scene?
In certain factions it is, you know. Some guys like the party, some people make the studio the party, things like that. When we're on the road, we just kind of devolve into that, you know, but it's not like we're a big party band. We're not Guns N' Roses, no. That's, it just eases the pain, I guess, you know.
Because these days, there's this whole kind of, it's the 90s, there's this whole move towards going out on the road and having like no alcohol backstage. I mean, there is, you know, there's a lot of people who are out there like clean living, you know.
Well, it's not about that, sure, you know, but I think society has to come to terms with, you know, drugs are useful in the right situation. You know, they've always been around, they always will be around. There's a reason for that, you know. Wake up and accept it. Some people are able, and it's not a bad thing to do drugs. I'm not advocating drug use because it's not for everybody. But this fear that's, you know, being spread, I don't know the solution to this problem. It's just, you know, I don't think everyone should do drugs. There's some people that shouldn't be around them. But in moderation, there's social value to it, you know. That's my own philosophical spewing on the subject.
Something I've noticed about... Okay.